What's up guys, Logic Over Emotion, and in this video we want to cover why Black Lives Matter is a toxic and destructive movement. But before we begin, please consider liking the video, commenting on the video, and sharing the video. Also, if you are not a normal viewer here at Logic Over Emotion, consider hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as part of the channel. Now let's get into the content. Black Lives Matter was founded in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer. And since then, it has morphed into something so radical it can barely be recognized. There are many mixed feelings about the movement, and I want to take a few minutes and provide some clarity on this toxic and destructive movement. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the real agenda of Black Lives Matter. One of my biggest concerns with Black Lives Matter was taken directly from their website, and I quote, "We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable." The idea here is that the Western world, or at least America, is rooted in racism, and therefore the nuclear family is a result of white supremacy. I don't understand how this makes sense, as the nuclear family isn't specific to Western culture and has been proven to be extremely important. For those unaware of what the nuclear family is, it's in essence having a father and mother, or in short, a family that is intact. By attacking this structure, Black Lives Matter is without a doubt further hurting minorities, and specifically black minorities, which have a staggering rate of 73% of homes headed by a single parent. If we take a look at this text from the Institute for Family Studies, it lays out the importance of family structure and its relation to poverty. And I quote, "First, family breakdown fuels poverty. On average, even high school dropouts who are married have a far lower poverty rate than do single parents with several years of college. But family structure has the biggest impact on children, according to Raj Chetty, the preeminent researcher on the topic of social mobility. Having fathers in the neighborhood is a primary factor in predicting upward income mobility for the children in that neighborhood later in life, even when controlling for other variables such as the available schools, race, or ethnicity. In part, that's because family structure influences the choices that children will make. Controlling for race and parental income, boys raised without their fathers are much more likely to use drugs, engage in violent or criminal behavior, go to jail, and drop out of school. Girls, meanwhile, are more likely to engage in early sexual activity or have a child out of wedlock. Children without a father in the home are even more likely to suffer from mental health problems as adults." So with this information commonly available, why would Black Lives Matter strive to disrupt the nuclear family? Well, let's take a look at two of the three founders of Black Lives Matter. Alicia Garza grew up as Alicia Schwartz in a mixed race and mixed religion household with a Jewish stepfather and an African American mother. It's unclear if she ever knew her father or how long she was without one. Patrice Cullors recalls being forced from her home at 16 when she revealed her queer identity to her parents. It's safe to say they didn't experience the nuclear family that they so desire to destroy. Considering that they want to destroy the nuclear family with all the data out there indicating what happens when fathers aren't in homes, I come to the conclusion that they do so to keep the mind of blacks mentally enslaved. A young, angry, uneducated child without positive structure growing up is much easier to manipulate. But there's more. Take a listen to this.
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
So here's one of the Black Lives Matter leaders admitting to being Marxist. So what is Marxism? Marxism is the name for a set of political and economic ideas. The core ideas are that the world is divided into classes, the workers and the richer capitalists who exploit the workers. There is a class conflict that should ultimately result in socialism, workers' own means of production, and then communism, stateless, classless society. Marxism is very unpopular because it's rooted in socialism. It's the idea the workers who provided the labor to produce goods should own the benefits of that production. However, this is illogical. Why would a worker who takes no risk assume ownership of production? The reason the capitalist gets rich is because he or she provides the idea, business plan, and they assume all risk if the business were to fail. That being so, they should benefit greatly from any success that the business achieves. I am also confused how It's considered exploiting a worker who agrees to work for a business at whatever wages are decided upon. I don't see exploitation. I see the capitalist providing an opportunity for someone to make a living and raise a family. Without the capitalist's money and ideas, there would be no means of production in the first place, and we will never achieve a classless society because humans in general perform differently. Just based on that logic, some will do better than others, and any system that looks to level the playing field would have to do so immorally, as that cannot be accomplished without first stealing one's labor or one's money. So now we have a general context of where Black Lives Matter comes from and how it originated. Now let's look at a few details that bring into question Black Lives Matter agenda. Here was a story covered by CNN. That in itself is shocking. But what's not shocking is the fact that you heard crickets from Black Lives Matter regarding this story. They saw no value in it because it did not further their agenda of how racist America is. Now, had any of these children been killed by a white person, you can bet there would be riots, looting, and outrageous demands being made by Black Lives Matter. I'm sure it rubs people the wrong way that your organization's name is Black Lives Matter while you care nothing about the black lives of these innocent children, while destroying America over a few criminals that were actively involved in crime at the time of them dying or had committed a crime and chose not to cooperate with law enforcement. Just one of the many hypocrisies of the Black Lives Matter movement. Alright, moving on. So let's talk about defunding the police. This was pulled right from the Black Lives Matter website, and I quote, "We know that police don't keep us safe, and as long as we continue to pump money into our corrupt criminal justice system at the expense of housing, health, and education investments, we will never be truly safe." Just the fact that this sentence starts with, "We know that the police don't keep us safe," clearly shows how warped their thinking is. In 2019, police killed 13 unarmed black men. Yes, 13. I don't think this requires a master's degree, but just in case, let me put this in context for you. There are roughly 45 million black Americans. I would also like to state that just because someone is unarmed does not mean they are not dangerous. Despite the push to defund the police, a Gallup poll actually showed that Black Americans want police to retain or even increase their presence in their communities. Let's take a look at the statistics. You have 61% of Black Americans wanting police to retain the same amount of time spent in their communities, and 20% want more time. Basic math tells you that 81% of Black Americans do not support defunding the police. Only 19% want less police presence among Black Americans. And of course, this is because the reality is that a Black American faces a far greater chance of losing their life to another Black American than law enforcement. The comparison isn't even close. This is in part why I believe the Democrats have started walking back the defund the police idea. They are trying to pivot and claim they don't want to defund the police, but rather reallocate funding to services that are needed. Funny how that changed based on what's popular instead of what's right. Now take a look at this clip of a Black Lives Matter leader, and this pretty much sums it up.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That makes sure that that person can make some kind of money because this city obviously doesn't care about them. Not only that, that's reparations.
What I see here is an angry young person that is so overwhelmed by emotions that she can't think straight. It is this exact thinking that plagues the minority community. By finding a way to justify what is clearly wrong, you become an enabler of these negative actions. Not to mention the irony here is that many of the businesses looted were minority owned, many that didn't have the insurance and protection that larger, more established businesses have. Many of those same minority businesses employed people and provided a means for them to feed their family. So by looting from your own, you put them out of business, destroy the jobs they had created, and have taken jobs from people that obviously needed them. This is why the Black Lives Matter movement is toxic and destructive. When your emotion controls your decision making, you begin doing things that are counterproductive to what you wish to achieve. Black Lives Matter is responsible for destroying more black lives than law enforcement ever will. This is why I don't support them, and this is why I will always be against them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, and always remember, always think individually.